Hi, welcome to this next presentation about what are my responsibilities regarding property maintenance. So specifically, what do responsible landlords do to repair and maintain their properties without the headache, the hassle of project or contractor or tenant management? So perhaps you would like to know a bit more about what your responsibilities are when it comes to repairs and maintenance, how quickly you need to respond to different types of maintenance requests, and what's the best way to manage the maintenance process. So before we dive into that, my name's Chris Jones. My previous career was an accountant for 20 years. I've been a landlord since 2005 and refurbishing properties for many years. I established Jones&Co in 2014. I'm a letting agent speaker since 2016 and a property meeting host since 2019. Our podcast started in 2023 and things that I enjoy doing: sailing, cycling, running and travelling. So I established Jones&Co in 2014. We manage hundreds of properties Norfolk wide, and our services include letting, sales, property acquisitions, refurbishments and coaching. We have a wide network of property professionals that we can also refer you to. So back to it, what responsible landlords do to repair and maintain their properties without the headache, hassle of project, contractor and tenant management. So in this next few minutes, we're going to look at the UK law and the framework around that and what your responsibilities are. We're going to look at specifically what those responsibilities are, the consequences of not maintaining your property quickly enough, adequately enough, firstly on the landlord yourself, on the tenant and on the property itself. And then a little bit about how to effectively manage that maintenance process. So I'll guide you through all of these things and steps. At the end, I'll explain how you can achieve all of these things. So the UK legal framework has been built up over many years. So there's lots of layers to it. But we'll talk about each one of those and go from there. So many and varied pieces of legislation. So the Landlord and Tenant Act sort of sets the scene in 1985. So it talks about the structure and exterior of the property must be kept in good repair. So the Gas Safety Installation and Use Regulations of 1998 then talks about boilers and then how you safely maintain those. And the electrical safety standards of the private rented sector in England, they're quite a recent piece of legislation. It was always good advice to get an electrical condition report, but it became mandatory in 2020. Defective Premises Act 1972, that goes back quite a long way. And the Housing Health and Safety Rating System, that's relatively new and that is now implemented. We need to look at 29 hazards that could affect the safety of our house or our property. Smoke and carbon monoxide alarms of 2015, that's a regulation. There are regulations around energy performance certificates. The underlying thing to remember, I think, here is that in common law, a landlord has a duty of care to the safety and well-being of their tenants. So that's an underlying piece of UK legislation that encompasses all this. So what are the landlord responsibilities when it comes to property maintenance? So a good place to look is the AST, the Assured Short Hold Tenancy, and in essence it's keep the structure and outside of the property in good repair. That's the first responsibility. Keep gas, water and electric and room heating and water heating installations in good and proper working order. All sounds quite sensible at the moment. It is this responsibility to insure your property, also to ensure the gas supply and appliances comply to the regulations. And in layman's terms, I guess that means having a gas certificate issued by a gas safe registered engineer every year. Also to ensure the electrical installations comply with the regulations. We talked about that, EICRs, electrical installation condition reports. Also, you must take reasonable steps to ensure the property complies with the Homes Fitness for Human Habitation Act, another piece of legislation that we need to be aware of there. And keep in repair and the mechanical and electrical appliances that form part of the contents. So if you provide washing machines, dishwashers and fridge freezers, ovens, etc., all those appliances must be maintained in good working order. So the consequences of not maintaining your house, appliances, etc. could be, in worst case scenario, legal action by the council. So the council would be the enforcing body in your area, and they can issue fines, they can issue enforcement notices requiring you to do certain things, and they can issue prohibition orders. There could be financial penalties to local authorities or through civil claims, so tenants can sue you, initiated by tenants, and it could be difficult to rent a substandard property, and you might only be able to achieve a lower price. So lots of good reasons why you as a landlord might want to maintain your house to the best possible standard. Consequences of the tenant, so there could be health and safety risks through illness or injury. Really important one here, dissatisfied tenants and poor relationships. So if you have a poor relationship or dissatisfied tenant, rightly or wrongly, it's always going to make your life as a landlord more difficult. So I'd always have a think about what your obligations are, but also how does my tenant feel about this at the moment. You need to be clear about where the responsibilities start and end, but communication with your tenant around these issues is really important. You don't want to create a bad relationship with your tenants. It makes everyone's life more difficult. Tenants do have rights to redress if things aren't addressed in time, and tenants could withhold rent, or that's not recommended, but there is a route that sometimes happens, and they can get repairs done themselves. But if they're going to do that, there is quite a strict process to follow. They can't just say, I'm not paying you because you haven't done this. That is not the right approach. There is an approach, but there is a process that the tenant needs to follow. So that's important to know. There is a process there. The consequences on the property, it would achieve a lower value of rent, higher cost of future repairs could be a thing, and it might just reduce the return on investment that your property is giving you over time. So lots of financial reasons you might want to consider doing a great job of maintaining a property. So effective property maintenance, so it all really starts with inspections. So unless you visit your property, you kind of don't know in what condition it might be in. So our process is 6 monthly inspections. We have a checklist, so we know exactly what to look for each time, so we don't miss an item and everything is recorded. So we take photos of each of our inspections so we can essentially prove we've been there, we can demonstrate the condition of the property at the time, and we can talk in more useful ways to landlords and contractors once we have photos that we can talk to. It's really important to ask your tenant. This is a great relationship building opportunity to talk to your tenant about how they're getting on in the property, anything that they would like to talk about in terms of maintenance. So that's a really important part of the inspection process. So how quickly have you got to get things fixed? It does depend on the seriousness. So there's this phrase called reasonable time frame. Not massively helpful, I don't think, but it does depend on the seriousness of the maintenance issue. So if it's an emergency response, so a burst pipe, water going everywhere, that is, deal with it now. Lots of reason you would do with that. It will damage your property, tenants can't live there, etc. So burst pipes, emergency, sort it out today. Electrical failure, again, similar. If there's no power in the house, that needs to be sorted out pretty quickly. And communication is super important in all these maintenance issues. So again, timeliness, there's no statutory time frame, but address maintenance issues promptly and a reasonable time frame. So here's a couple of examples. So within 24 hours, if it's an emergency repair, such as a burst pipe, I think that stands to reason. If it's an urgent repair, perhaps up to a week might be appropriate, such as an insecure window, maybe above a ground floor window. So not an emergency, but it's important. And maybe within a month for something like a dripping tap. Now, I don't think we want to plan to wait a month, but you haven't got to drop everything and do it for a dripping tap. But I would suggest the quicker we inform our tenants that we're on it, and the quicker we inform our contractors it needs to be done, then so much the better. Record keeping, in our world, it's really important to keep accurate records so we can demonstrate that we've received maintenance requests and what we have done and how quickly we've done those things. So written correspondence is always really important to make sure that we're communicating correctly. So common problems, you can then diagnose which common problems. If we go to a boiler repair 3 times in 3 months, we now know that, and there's probably a more serious issue with that boiler. You can demonstrate responsiveness. So if you have got a maintenance request on Monday and you've contacted your contractor on Monday afternoon or Tuesday, it just demonstrates that you're acting in a reasonable time frame. And it also allows you to prioritise which is more important. The burst pipe is more important than the dripping tap. So having those things written down can direct your efforts in the right way. So hope that's all helpful. We've looked at the UK law and the framework around that. We've talked about the responsibilities as described in the AST, and we've talked about the consequences not maintaining firstly on yourself, the landlords, tenants and the property, and how to effectively manage some of the maintenance requests that you get in. So if you've enjoyed today's presentation and you would like my team's help to do this for you, then book a phone call with me or a member of my team. So links are in the video below this video, so please do book a call. We have space to take a few phone calls, appointments, but when they do fill up, they're gone, I'm afraid. So on that call, we'll listen to your issues, we'll understand what you want to achieve, and we'll give you our best advice. We're experienced landlords and manage many properties Norfolk-wide, so we can help you with your issues that you might be having. If at the end of the phone call it feels like a good fit, we will see if we can work with you. So click on the link below, book a call with me and my team. So thank you very much for listening. Until next time, subscribe to this channel, like and comment on the videos, and click the links below to get other access to free content that we provide. And until next time, here is to the success of your property business.